Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of One Take. So, am I taller than my cousin Chris because I grew up poor and he didn't? Hear me out. Get a good explanation. Now, give you a little backstory. My cousin Chris and I are very good friends, and there's about a 9 year age difference between us. He's younger, but we look like we could easily be brothers, and we sound very similar. But I have always been, or at least when we peaked, a good quarter of an inch to a half inch taller than him, and he's never really been able to be okay with that. He used to say when we were out somewhere, usually after a couple of beers, he'd go, Jason, come on, let's go back to back. Let's go back to back and have the bartender tell us who's taller. And well, two things. First of all, he loves it when I do an impression of him because he goes, you just sounds like you talking like you. And the second thing is he always ends up being the shorter person. Now, he says it's because I have the hair advantage. He shaves his head. If you've met me in person, you know I have a lot of advantages, but my hair is not one of them. But so you fast forward. So it's been an ongoing thing with us. And it's interesting because I recently read an article that talked about genetics and how genetics aren't one or things associated with that. Let's take height, for instance, isn't 100% based on our genetics, meaning your genes passed down. Roughly 80% of it is driven by your genes, and the other 20% is driven by your environmental influences. And typically that has a lot to do with diet during your younger years, your adolescence, as you're growing up, when you're getting bigger. Obviously, it's not going to affect once you peak. But so it was really interesting because I grew up very poor without anything. And when we got into high school, unless I wanted to bring my 1982 Star Wars thermos with me, I couldn't bring anything to drink to school. And unless I wanted to bring the same peanut butter and jelly sandwich and cast potato chips, shout out to old school St. Louis there, every day, I had to buy lunch. And well, if I wanted to buy lunch, I had to pay for it with my own money. And being a bagger back in 1989 just didn't pay as much as you think. But I digress. So, anyway, I would have to look for the cheapest option. And the soda machine was not the cheapest option. But what was were pints of milk. Because at the time they were subsidized by the government. It was super cheap. It was a nickel. A nickel. I don't know why I'm still doing my hands. A nickel for a pint of milk. So usually if I brought my lunch or I got the cheapest grilled cheese and fries for like $1.20, I would get anywhere from 5 to 7 pints of milk a day. Think about it. That's 35 cents max, 25 to 35 cents. Boom, score. It was good for me and it filled me up. But did me doing that every day of my high school years for 4 years contribute to me being taller, just getting a little bit more and edging out my cousin? I'd like to say maybe. And you're probably wondering, Jason, you've talked now for 3 minutes about your cousin, about your impressions and milk for some crazy ass reason. But there is reason to it. Think about it. Most things in life aren't as prefixed as we think. They're like the genetics. Maybe 75, 80% is fixed ahead of time, but we have 20% that we can change our lives and our world with. And it's up to us to take advantage of that 20%. We need to know it's there and we need to use it. So get out there and use your 20% and deal with the 80% you can't. This has been One Take. Make it a great weekend.